Hi, Curt Carlson here with my value creation tip of the week. And today I want to talk about university research and how we could do a better job. What's the goal of university research? It's to solve important unmet needs, opportunities, problems, things that would really make a difference. And these kinds of solutions often impact many people. Maybe not immediately, but over the long term, yes. They tend to be highly interdisciplinary. They're made up of many different forms of knowledge and technology that have to come together to solve the problem. And if you look at the list of NSF or National Academy Grand Challenge problems, that's what they're all like, whether it's the environment, next generation internet, cybersecurity, biotechnology of many different kinds. The list goes on, and they tend to be heavily interdisciplinary. And problems like this are called complex problems. They're ones where all these pieces have to come together and the solution emerges. It doesn't just happen. You just don't write down, oh, here's the solution I'm going to have. No, the solution emerges. When we did Siri, for example, that's now on the iPhone, it took us over a decade to do that. And bit by bit, the opportunities that we had emerged from putting all the pieces together. There are about, let's say, 10 different kinds of knowledge to do Siri, and the solutions emerged. So with that, what's necessary for success? Well, a number of things. The first, of course, is you need superb teammates, and they often come from multiple universities because you want to get the best people, and they don't necessarily all reside in every discipline in one university. They all have to share the vision, be passionate about the mission, and have unique complementary skills. No overlaps, just everyone has a key role. You have to address all the organizational issues in a university. People have to get tenure. They have to take care of their graduate students. You have IP issues. There are a lot of things you have to put together. Of course, you need the funding and all the physical resources and other infrastructure. And you need a value creation method for how people are going to work together. Sometimes that's explicit. Sometimes it's not so explicit. We'll talk about that. And of course, because you're building a kind of a recipe that has many different parts, it takes intense collaboration and iteration to figure out what to do, how to put the pieces together to solve the problem. Without intense collaboration, these problems cannot be solved efficiently and effectively. So with that, how do universities typically collaborate? Well, universities are not exactly known for their ability to collaborate. We did a National Academy study, and that was something that came up over and over and over again. Typically, before the virus, university researchers would get together a couple times a year. They might have to fly over the country, so it was a big commitment. They would spend days. They probably would spend several weeks getting ready and going to the meetings and coming back and doing all the things in between. It was a big commitment of time for university folks. And at these meetings, people would give seminars, give talks, graduate students would be there. There'd be focus groups, but the focus was really not so much really trying to work directly on the problems. It was really to catch up and communicate what they'd done so far. And of course, in between, they'd communicate by email and phone and other means. That was pretty typical. But again, this kind of collaboration is not really what we mean. It's not the kind of intense work on the task that we have in mind to really solve these kinds of problems efficiently. So here's what we are doing. We did when I was CEO of SRI International for 16 years. And it's the process we used that grew the company over 3 times and resulted in major innovations like high definition television, Intuitive Surgical, which is now the leading robotic surgery company worth about $80 billion, and Siri that was bought by Steve Jobs from us. So here's what we did. We held regularly what we call value creation forums. These were meetings that would be held every 2 to 4 weeks. It would depend, but let's say 2 weeks for about an hour. There'd be 3 to 5 teams that would come, and there'd be a facilitator. Others would attend as needed. And the point there is that with interdisciplinary research, you rarely have all the right ingredients when you start. So you have to have a way to bring people in and have them participate in a way that's meaningful. So that was a steady thing. People were bringing in outside people all the time. Um, each team gives let's say, a 5-minute presentation, and they use the NABC framework. So everybody has a common framework focused on the customer. What's the need, the important unmet need? What's the working hypothesis for the approach with its sustainability model? What are the benefits per cost? That's the definition of customer value. And why is that 2 or 10 times better than the competition or the alternatives? Just 4 questions to get started. And after this presentation, the speaker would be silent. Well, we want them to listen actively. And if they start arguing, the meeting takes too long, and it becomes kind of adversarial. And that's not the spirit of this. It's about learning and improvement. And then the facilitator would ask teammates at random to keep everybody involved, what could be, what was good? What should we not forget? The second would be what could be improved, suggestions for improvement, not what you didn't like, but things that could be, ways that could be improved. Eyes of the end user and eyes of the investor, and then someone to comment on the quality of the feedback so we could continue to improve that as well. And the NABC framework actually is very important in this context because it gives everyone a common framework so you can compare one presentation against the other. Complicated systems like the business model canvas don't work for this. But what would happen is people would be really good on some aspect. For example, understanding the need. And that would become a model for everybody else in the room. And so it would go back and forth. And this really results in kind of an exponential learning process where you get a compounding effect when presentation after presentation is shown forum after forum. And of course, what makes this possible now is Zoom. Before, when people had to travel around the country, you could never do this. But now, and we're doing this at 2 universities with the technical staff at Northeastern University and Worcester Polytech. We can meet with them every 2 weeks for an hour and have this kind of intense interaction to help people learn and improve their value propositions and have access to those other forms of knowledge that they need to solve these interdisciplinary problems. So if we did this, how much could we improve our R&D? Well, it's hard to say, of course, but we've done over 500 workshops with teams, and typically only about 25% of what people are doing really would have any impact if they completed it. And we don't decide that, we just give them a framework to do that. Also of significance is even the ones that could make an impact, basically all of them pivoted during the 2-day workshop that we give at the end of the workshop. A pivot is where you change direction in your research, and it's not a good thing because what it means is up to that point you've been going in the wrong direction, maybe a little bit, but in many cases it's not a 10-degree pivot, it's a 90-degree pivot. And that costs you money, that takes time. You may have built the wrong team, you may have built the wrong kinds of prototypes. A lot of things happen that are bad. And again, it's a reason why we focus on NABC value propositions, because they're the fundamentals and they set the direction for your research. If you get that wrong, you've got a problem. And how much could the impact be if we work this way? Well, again, consider SRI. When I came, the company had been failing for 20 years. And by using these kinds of ideas, we grew 3 times, more than 3 times. And we were systematically creating innovations like I mentioned, intuitive surgical, high definition television, and Siri on the iPhone. So it's a lot. Is it 10 times? It might be. Who knows? We'd have to see. But certainly, it's not insignificant. So just one more thing. The focus on this kind of initiative is not on entrepreneurship. We don't use that word. Professors don't want to be entrepreneurs. Only a few want to do that. most of them want to do their research. They want to do things of significance. They want to achieve. They want to make an impact with their research. They want to be better at their proposal win rate. They want to put together bigger, more important grants. And they want to save their time. They want it to be efficient and effective. They want to learn fast. And that's what value creation is all about. Value creation is the start of innovation, and then for some, entrepreneurship. You start with value creation. And programs that focus first on entrepreneurship are misdirected and are really not going to make the kinds of impact we need to improve university research. So that's my tip for the week. I hope you'll use these ideas and learn more about them with your teams. I think you'll see a big difference pretty rapidly if you do. So remember, it's through value creation and innovation that we're going to make the world a better place. Take care. Bye-bye.